This one's wife. Is she the racist? Hello. I'm H.G. Tudor. This one's wife has played the race card on a number of occasions. Naturally, she has been subjected to some distasteful and unnecessary observations about her linked to her race by some knuckle-dragging idiots. For instance, there were police officers that made detrimental comments about her linked to her race in WhatsApp messages. But these instances are few and far between. Instead, this one's wife has attempted to suggest that the British media has been racist towards her by claiming that they use the N-word in relation to her children. That simply was not true. She has sought to paint the royal family as racist. There was the Oprah "what?" moment when this one's wife claimed that there had been discussions by a member of the British royal family with regard to Archie's skin colour. This then changed from one person to two, and as was found out recently in the Dutch edition of Bell Endgame, the accusation has been levelled against King Charles and the Princess of Wales, although very few people accept that this is accurate to describe them as racist individuals. This one's wife, hitherto, held herself out as Caucasian. That was what was always described on her CV, her resume. To look at her, you would be hard-pressed to suggest that she was black. You might, of course, think possibly Hispanic, and in some instances, white. We know that she has a black mother, and therefore she would be rightly described as biracial. Although she herself has done much, it would appear, to eradicate the coloured aspects of her ethnicity. For instance, she straightens her hair, whereas when she was younger it was frizzier. That she appears pale, but then will bronze herself in certain instances to make herself look darker. That she's had the structure of her nose altered. She, of course, is perfectly entitled to do all of these things, but also people are entitled to draw the conclusion that she has been trying to play down, if you will, the black aspect of her biraciality and heighten that of being white. Furthermore, it's also the allegation that she has utilised the issue of race, weaponised it in order to engender sympathy. That when somebody criticises her or doesn't do what she wants, this is because they're racist, even though there's no evidence to support that was the case. That she wanted it inferred that members of the royal family were racist, but then later on there was a U-turn by Prince Harry in that regard, although they let the matter fester for some 2 years and suggest that it was actually unconscious bias. It's now been reported via Alex Breedine of skynews.com.au that this one's wife was insulted after the palace assigned Queen Elizabeth's black royal household officer to help her feel comfortable. Palace officials suggested the Queen's Ghanaian-born household cavalry officer step in to help this one's wife, who is biracial, adjust to her new royal duties, according to Omid Scobie's book, Bell Endgame. The late Queen Elizabeth II reportedly offered her black equerry to help this one's wife feel comfortable as she acclimatised to palace life. According to the improbably named plastic-faced Weasley-lick-spittle Lieutenant Omid Scobie's book Endgame, now known as Bell Endgame, the palace suggested that the late monarch's Ghanaian-born household cavalry officer, Lieutenant Colonel Nana Kofi Tumasi Ankara, step in to help this one's wife, who is biracial, adjust to her new royal duties. Though a charming and intelligent man, it stood out like a sore thumb to this one's wife and her friends, Scobie writes. This one's wife and her friends were insulted, per the US Sun, when the palace suggested the Queen's attendant assist her, which Scobie notes was likely due to a lack of black or other non-white staff in relevant senior roles. Once again, the issue of race is being put forward as a problem by this one's wife through Omid Scobie. And yet, when the Queen took a step to try and make her feel comfortable, this is thrown back in her face. Notice, of course, that this one's wife, for all of her claims to embrace her ethnicity and, of course, that she's 43% Nigerian, she has never dated a person of colour. She has never had a relationship with a person of colour. Her 2, 3, if you believe that version of events, husbands have all been white. Cora Vitiello was white. Other people that she dated were white. That you look at the majority of her friends, they were white. You look at the likes of Lizzie Cundy, white. You look at Misha Nunu, white. You look at the childhood friends that she put to one side, white. That she doesn't bother with the black side of her family. You'll recall the picture of the various aunts on the Raglan side, many of whom looked somewhat dissatisfied as they had put on their Sunday best in order for a Zoom call, but they were left hanging by this one's wife. That she only invited her mother to the wedding. Not only did she ostracize certain of her white relatives, her father and her 2 half-siblings, but no other relatives on her mother's side were invited to the wedding. The black side of the family were ignored. She would much rather invite celebrities with whom she had no actual relationship with. The article continues by explaining, I doubt Kate was offered an equerry for guidance, the author claims a friend told the Duchess of Sussex. Per Scobie and previous reports, this one's wife was initially assigned Lady Susan Hussey to help her adjust to her new royal duties. However, the suit's alum, 42, later turned down the offer for Hussey to be her helping hand, prompting the palace, who claimed to have bent over backward for this one's wife, to suggest Lieutenant Colonel as a mentor. In the April 2022 book The Palace Papers, author Tina Brown also notes the palace's supposed disconnect with this one's wife when it came to who they suggested to help the actress adjust. The glaring but unspoken problem was that none of these experienced palace hands were women of colour, Brown wrote. As for the lady in waiting the Queen had offered for support, what on earth did the 80-year-old Lady Susan Hussey have of use for a 38-year-old biracial American actress trying to navigate the treacherous palace system? Hussey eventually stepped down from her royal duties in 2022 after making unacceptable and deeply regrettable comments to a black domestic abuse campaigner. Once again, the issue of race is being raised by this one's wife. But in all of these instances where she seeks to use race as a means to control and to draw fuel, the examination of her own conduct raises the question that while she regularly projects suggestions that people have been racist towards her when there's no actual evidence to support it, might it actually be that she is the racist in the way that she has conducted herself, in the way that she treats other people? Might it be she that puts forward those racist views as part of the need to assert control, her absence of emotional empathy, the necessity of drawing fuel? What do you think? Do you think this one's wife is actually the racist rather than the one that is regularly sinned against by racists? Do you believe that she is the one that engages in racist behaviour, or do you think that's incorrect? Let me know in the comments section. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.